Got my fancy clicker. All I do, I feel so spoiled. All I do is press the button and the camera starts. My name is Hannah, and on this channel that I got going on here, I really like to talk about topics related to resilience, topics related to recovery, and things talking about the topics that kind of dance around those two main um, kind of keystone ideas, topics like creative processes, um, and managing our emotions and our perspectives, and basically everything related to goal, um, succeeding in our goals, and also processing life as it happens so that it all feels like we can go more with the flow. I really try to find the words in my own life. It's all about kind of finding the words to feel like the unpredictable things or the possibilities or all the options are more manageable and can feel encouraging and exciting and safe and calm instead of feeling overwhelming, or depressing, or causing us to feel like we can't be consistent in things because it feels just intimidating. And just kind of sorting these kind of things that are really important to me, basically how to manage our own thoughts and orientation to our individual lives in a way that uh, has us focusing on the things that will actually make us happy, and also focusing on the realities that sometimes aren't pleasant, or we at least have this, you know, um, practical, um, I can't think of the right word, but practical, like obligation, like a practical obligation to um, assess and look at possible negative things, just understanding the patterns, and also when to rein back and when to not be looking for negative patterns. So, it's also related to managing OCD type symptoms. Yeah, so because I know that so many people, myself included, we've been through so much in life, and we have really relied on our analytical minds, our rational minds, our um, powerful ability to tell stories and use words to make sense of things, to have some type of system of prediction, to, even if it's kind of superstitious, but to feel safe, to be like, um, if this happens, then that, and therefore I can expect this. Um, so, because that can implicate superstitions or just unhelpful thought processes, in our attempts to feel in control, by the way we are telling stories. Sometimes the stories we tell, it gives us control, this sense of control, this sense of empowerment, this sense of um, there's something actionable, and that is really beneficial to us. And then other times, um, the way in which we are telling this story, it actually has more cons than pros when we take a step back and we realize, yeah, we feel in control with this narrative. Yes, we feel actionable. Yes, it is putting us in connection with other people. But then maybe it also has negative side effects that are preventing us from um, considering other options, or so basically I really just am passionate about this topic of um, being patient with ourselves, moving through the flow of life, and really coming back to our power as creative and embodied beings in order to manage and feel good about our life and our beingness, like especially after recovery, and I use recovery very broadly. You could basically recovery, just any type of fixation you may have had that was intended to help cope with um, some obstacle, some pain, some difficult circumstances, um, and you know it had more negative outcomes than positive outcomes. So you know that for myself, the addiction was definitely related to substances, and I think it was also related to just negative um, negative talk towards myself. I think that can be an addiction also, that where we can think that if we think of ourselves horribly, if we tell ourselves horrible things about ourselves, then that will like protect other people from doing the same to us. And that is very much not the case. So I really am also passionate about um, helping people to understand self-esteem and kind of this like really common catchphrase or buzzword, why it is actually a really relatable subject, um, that is actually actionable in simple, organized ways. Um, you know, my I'm kind of getting off topic now, but one of my favorite things for self-esteem is to look at, to like um, write down your values, write down all your self-determined values, and really assess like what is my value, like in an ideal, like imagine me living the kind of life I want to, or the aspirations I have, and just everything I've been through in my life, all the things that I believe is important. Not that I should believe is important, but that I actually believe is important. Um, including sometimes giving leeway and going with the flow. So, and with that list, you can start to use that as your reference point as you go through life, being like, am I living according to my values? Then I'm going to affirm and actually actively say to myself, I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful to my experiences and to our higher powers that shaped me into this person who has these values and who lives by these values. And then also, acknowledging the times when we don't live by our values. And that can either be a diving place to understand deeper what our values are, or how to navigate, that kind of circumstance of how do we get to the goal when maybe the options before us aren't the best. But using that framework of our values to really have this be about the relationship with ourselves, instead of looking for other people to always be affirming or the authors of our self-esteem, being like, well, how am I dealing with it? These circumstances are out of my control. We can't control so many things around us. But with what I can have control over, like how I behave or respond, like, am I living according to my values? And, sometimes our values can be as simple as getting to our goal. And we're just like, thank you. Like, we're like, I'm so proud of you, so brave of you for experimenting and for, you know, going through the really tough trial and error the best we can with the best intentions. So, anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about today. That's just what I wanted to kind of give as a background understanding for why, the topics of resilience and post recovery, as recovered people, the way that we orient ourselves to our lives and we strive to enjoy things. Because I really believe that the purpose of life is to enjoy it. And the more that we work with other people to enjoy it and grow our capacity to enjoy things, I think the more we do that, the more the planet will be like happy and healthy. And I'm getting a phone call right now, so I just hope it's not changing the audio. If it is, whoops. Um, so anyway, I wanted to talk about today this idea of, you know, sometimes we don't always know where the path is going, and we are in this in between state where we have things planned out for ourselves. We have some pieces of the puzzle, some clues, but it's very much, you know, a process of exploration. It's a process of listening, of reflecting, of, you know, being flexible and remembering ultimately to enjoy enjoy the process. And I know for myself that this like next year, the year of my life, I'm getting close to my birthday, kind of close in a couple months or so. But um, I'm just really getting into this mode of, um, you know, it really the process um, of being alive at some point when we don't have these crisis situations to always attend to. It can leave us feeling a bit empty, when we aren't in this state of panic or this state of like we always have some kind of big, pressing, urgent concern, urgent kind of fear based thing to draw our attention to. It can leave us feeling kind of like, well, what am I structuring my life with? And it's important for us to create our own structure. And I'm really excited the structure I'm creating in my life. um, I've been writing a bunch. I'm writing a book about resilience, which I'm really excited about. And I'm also writing, trying to process my life experiences. I've been learning about memoirs, learning a little bit about writing memoirs, and trying to understand how the stories that we tell ourselves about our life, how this impacts how we see ourselves in the present, and that kind of frame of mind that we have as we are going through like the play-by-play interactions with other people, the way that we understand our lives to be, our story, like what brought us to this point, who we are, our identity, what we are about, what we are doing. So writing kind of memory glimpses, um, that's something I'm trying to do to get a feel for, different parts of me, how I perceive myself. Because I really think that when we're young, we can have this sense of ourselves that is really, um, it's not rational based. It's more this instinctual place where we have like a set of feelings, a set of colors and memories, images in our minds, um, memories of things we've seen around us as reference points to be like, oh yeah, I identify like with that, like that feels like me. We have these kind of things that we relate to and identify with, and it causes us to have this certain sense of ourselves that, you know and then when we get older, we have to put into words. We have to find the words to help communicate to other people. We have to find that grounding of who this character is, this role is, this identity is, so that we can, have this shortcut kind of for decision making to understand this is our identity. This is how I interact with people. because we can't, it's not just not practical to be in that analysis paralysis and be always thinking, well, what is the right way for me to respond, or the right thing for me to do, or the right character to play? And, right is extremely subjective. And I think what is right for the individual is um, what is like feels nurturing, exciting, interesting, enjoyable. The character we play with our personalities. So, um, because how especially I think that if you tend to uh, be kind of like a writer in that mind, like you can imagine so many different ways that somebody would deal with a situation depending on who they are. And sometimes we can be like, well, we see all these different options, but what is the right option for us? And I think it's important to be patient with ourselves, that the thing that just comes out of us is what's right for us in the moment. And that is really good and healthy, that our brains work that way so that we can hasten the pace that we interact with people, so it's not just always like thinking what is right and did I do things right? And we also have to be able to affirm to ourselves, we did this right. Like, I am proud of myself. I'm playing the role that I meant to play. And that is the kind of um, uh, self containment, authenticity that I think really helps to fuel our passions, our dreams, our interests, our bonds with people, our trust for ourselves and other people, and our emotional motivation. And I talk about emotional motivation a lot when it comes to being consistent and persistent and having commitments that we are accountable to, because that is one of the most, like, a part of our resilience skills. That is one of the major focuses that we work on, right? It is this focus of being able to be consistent for something. And in order to do that, you have to feel in yourself, in your heart, in your body, that you're being authentic, or at least be able to regularly come back to that mental place where you can kind of assess and be like, okay, I see what went on there. Yes, that is authentic. And yeah, I think it's so important for us to be really patient with ourselves as we go through these really complex ways of negotiating all our thoughts and emotions, and trying to sort the um, the past experiences from what matters now in the present, and to always keep that positive self-regard for ourselves, just as we do for other people, knowing that we all are caught in this game of life. I don't want to say caught. That sounds like, you know, uh, caught. Um, Sometimes we get caught up in life, but ultimately we are here to enjoy and experience the beautiful things, and to remember how to access these beautiful things, and to not concern ourselves with, especially, this all depends on what part in your journey that you're in. But I know for me, it's very important not to concern myself with um, unnecessarily with things that are upsetting, which includes thinking about things that could potentially be upsetting. You see what I mean? It's a very kind of meta thing. Um, but yeah, I wanted to uh, try something out. I wanted to pull a tarot card This is something that has been really helping me while I've been working on, writing some memoir ideas. Um, I talk about these subjects because I live it. Like, this is my life. Like, I've been through stuff and I've come very far. I'm extremely proud of myself. I'm extremely grateful to the people, especially on the internet, people on the internet, people on YouTube. I'm extremely grateful for people online and people in my life who have been a part of this journey. I'm extremely grateful for my upbringing and my genetics and everything that even gave me the privilege to be in the position I'm in now. Um, you know, the potential I had to get out of the situations I was in, and just the sheer luck involved, and grateful that I was able to navigate, and grateful that one of my qualities is just to be kind of like stubborn, and like I'm gonna do it the hard way. Like, I can manage a lot of suffering when I have a goal in mind, and because I know what I want. And all those kind of things are very common to the human spirit and beautiful. But we have to understand a different way of orienting ourselves to the world and our relationship with our own self, in the way that we just process life, and have our minds organized around what we believe life is, what our goals are, the creative processes we use to manage and process emotions and take action and continue feeling empowered and encouraged. So it's a very complex thing, very common things to handle and deal with. And yeah, I'm just really proud and excited of everybody out there who's on this journey, on this journey of being um, self-loving and authentic to ourselves, and authentic in sharing ourselves with other people, so that we can connect and learn from each other. And anyway, so yeah, one of as I've been, you know, experimenting with different ways to help process emotions or have some kind of plot points, some kind of self-directed structure, because at least for me, a part of being, a part of these shifts is living a life where my energetic exchange, I'm giving value to get value. Money is implicated, but in order to um, take part in learning, self organization, self management, um, and enjoying life without kind of needing these whip crackers to have us be consistent and available. It is a learning process, and a part of the structure that I'm using to help me is tarot. I first got my tarot deck in, I don't even know, maybe 2018, 2019. And I used it for a few months, and then a bunch of stuff happened, and I used it a few more times, and then I moved and I left that tarot deck there, and then I didn't have one for years. And I just got another one, the classic Rider Waite. I just got another one a couple weeks ago. So I've been using it again and kind of refamiliarizing myself slowly, refamiliarizing myself with um, this really cool tool to use our subconscious to help bring narrative ideas to our lives. That's how I understand tarot. Is that it's a really cool way to have inspiration for what types of narratives and perspectives we can take from situations and how I interpret tarot is it's always for the purpose of empathy, encouraging, inspiring, um, like just perseverance, like to be like, yes, this is what it is. Like things seem really difficult and painful, but this is the path that you're on still. This is still the beautiful, gritty, resilient path that you are on. And, that's how I use tarot to make sense of things in that way because I'm already really good at acknowledging when things are painful or fearful. And to me, that veers too much on the side of, you know, paranoia or unhelpful anger or just distraction in general, just being distracted by emotions. And I know how I am with that. So, yeah, so how I read tarot is always for positive things and helpful things. And I also use, I don't even know how you say this, Chaldean numerology. Um, I've used it also since around 2018, more so, much more so than the tarot cards. And I'd like to talk about that in the future also. But um, there's numbers and on tarot cards, and I use that also as clues to understand the underlying energy. And for me, Chaldean numerology, I use the letter and number associations, but other than that, I don't use like the interpretations necessarily. I have my own way of interpreting it that I've gathered that makes sense to me. We all have to understand our own personal languages and what makes sense to us. And I've gathered it from, observing other people, listening to people, and using their ideas, compiling it into my own personal relationship with this tool of Chaldean, whatever, numerology, Chaldean, I don't know. So yeah, my thing with the numerology is that it's always for the purpose of um, pretty much manifestation, like manifesting positive things, staying firm, staying grounded, staying on the track, feeling energized and emotionally motivated for what is the next step to have creative inspiration and to go after goals, that is to help us have more agency. Anyway, so after all of that, I'm trying to think of what would be a good question that relates to this topic of resilience and being in the middle of this process. In the middle of this process of life, we're trying to do the best that we can. We are, we are reaching out. We are experimenting. That's something that's really important to me. Is this idea of experimentation, and we can get caught in analysis paralysis. So, especially because the fearful mind comes out. Well, the mind's like over analytical tendencies come out when we are afraid, and we are blessed to have our mind be here to help us out, try to give us ideas, but we also need that other part of our mind to be like, we are grateful to that part of our mind for its attempts to help us, but we got this. We already know from experience that over time we will have the most safe passage through these circumstances, the most optimal outcomes, the best support for our health and for our goals, and connecting with people through authenticity when we are able to just not focus on those fears and worries, but when we are able to have our focal point be experimentation and play and enjoyment. And it's funny that we even have to talk about that, right? Like, I think that when you go through really hard times, you have to compromise a lot. You have really unjust things happen to you, no matter, who you are, what your specific context is. We learn to adapt in unbalanced ways that compromise different parts of ourselves, keep ourselves, you know, it's like, yeah, maybe we had to lop off a hand in order to escape from our circumstance or whatever it might be. But the cool thing about our spiritual hand, so to speak, is that they grow back. We're like lizards. So I guess what I want to ask, and I don't really ask, any kind of deity. I more ask this general sense of the universe, just like all the mysterious things that we don't know about, um, that we don't know how it works, but we understand that there is this benevolent undercurrent of order and learning and reward and beauty and enjoyment. We understand this is the underlying truth to the world, and sometimes we just have to really look at it and look for it. But what, with the powers of our subconscious mind, everything that we have, we've had access to, we've had references, we've seen references to, we've seen examples of all these beautiful parts of other people that are in us, even like subconsciously, because we have been witnesses to it. Just kind of asking this universal wisdom and inspirational energy, what is the best way, or how can we, let's see, this is really hard for me to structure questions. Like, how can we, what role is it important to play when we are, what roles is it important to understand ourselves as participating in or playing in when we are striving to live our life by experimentation, positive experimentation, compassionate experimentation. The only way to be sure of something, in many cases, is to try it and see what happens. We can't have certainty, and we also can't jump to conclusions of the worst thing happening if we want the good things to happen. So what energy is important to keep in mind in order for us to play this role of participating in experimenting and play? Because to me, experimenting and play are the same things, and that's pertains to the number 5. So let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. I just saw the movie The Illusionist recently, and it's kind of a cheesy, cute little movie, but I don't know, it just popped into my head. Okay, so we got this little card on top. What energy? Let's see. The question was, what energy is important for us to consider as we are understanding what role we portray or play while focusing on experimentation and play. So this is the King of Wands. The King of Wands, as I understand it right now, I'm sure this will change in the future. As I understand it right now, like the king of anything It always has to do with the rational mind. And, I know there's suboptimal kind of sexist things in that, in the sense of, masculine and feminine. I'm more about the yin yang kind of thing, not attaching gender, genitals, sex, like that kind of thing towards um energetic. It's like no one energy has ownership of rationality or emotionality, or they're just human things, right? So I know all that, but for the purpose of tarot, um, and relatability, accessibility, let's just go with this, okay? For now. So the Kings has to do with rationality and using um, more that the form of strategy where you use words, you use thoughts, um, use directives, you use um, yeah, that more rational verbal form of interpreting things. That is and wand to me is your personal power. So it's basically your magic. It is the way your creative processes, the way in which you work through the world, the power you have to be like, I have this thought, this rational idea, and I can take action on it, and poof, manifesting. Um, so let's see that this there's a lizard on here, which I'm not really sure what that lizard is about, but I think it's really cool. Um, so wait, okay. So basically just going I wonder what oh, I was going to say where's my phone? I was going to Google something. I'm filming on my phone. So I'm really interested in what the lizard represents. There's lions behind him, which makes me think of Leo energy, but the wands, cups is water, pentacles is earth, swords is air, so it is fire. Wands would be fire, I suppose. If I just so wands is associated with fire, and behind him on his chair there is a little lizard in a circle right there. And then there's also those lions. So yeah, the lions are like Leo fire energy. And there's actually a few lizards on his chair, and the lizard down on the ground there, kind of like his left hand man on the left of him. They're looking in the same direction. I'm not really sure what's about the lizard. I think that's really interesting. And if anybody knows, please tell me. Um, but okay, so this energy is about using your rational mind, to play and be strategic as you are experimenting. Yeah, I think that's important just to remember that our personal power comes from the way that we use words, the way that we form narratives within our own minds, the way that we say these narratives to other people, and understanding that that is powerful, that is like steadfast, like super heavy duty personal power and agency um, that is helping us sustain control and to design a life that is in our control. The things that we say, being honest with our words. And it's one step to be honest with ourselves, with the words we use to, use rationality and form narratives. And in doing so, manifesting, that manifesting commitment, because so many things come and go into our lives, but it's more manifesting the commitments, the things that we engage in regularly, that's more so manifesting, because opportunities are here and there all the time. So yeah. So as we are playing and experimenting, I think just remembering that the power of our words goes so far, in aiding us in playing and experimenting. It's not just an internal kind of thing. Yes, there's that internal narrative that we rewrite, we examine, but there is also equally as important the narratives that we verbally say to other people that communicate our rationality and where we are authentic, like where we are in that moment. Like, even if our thing is we are just experimenting and we have ideas, but we have to see the reality of it first in play. Um, and we have to go into things slowly with that experimenting mindset to see what's possible and what are even options that might be there that we didn't think of. What other things do other people have to offer, to suggest the ideas that they have that might be like, oh my God, that's genius. And we weren't thinking of it. So we got to stay open and include that in our rationality, the ways that we use our words to communicate. And I know that, swords is also words and communication, but that, the king, to me, that really speaks of words right now. I'm still learning kind of my approach to tarot. So anyway, that's what I get from that. I think it's pretty cool. Still curious about the lizards. If you know what the lizards are about, let me know. I know I could always Google it also, but I really like to hear like individuals' personal interpretations, because for me, I feel like that makes it, I can make it feel more significant to me, you know? It's almost like a gift, like being a part of a community where you're like, oh, this is a piece of information, and I received a piece of information because it is a part of being within a community and understanding deeper into the associations. And of course, we all have our personal associations too. Anyway, yeah, that is what was on my mind for today. And I, let's see, I have my email address that I do offer coaching for resilience. If that's something that you're interested in, with that, I basically just take your personal circumstances and context that you share with me in order to generate actionable activities and, kind of um, reflection. I don't want to say tasks, but kind of, yeah, tasks um, that you can use to have this sense of mental organization, this sense of connecting with somebody who is like that focus, accountability, to help you be like, okay, this is the focus. This is like going to help put a bookmark. Like, this is the path that I'm on. This is direction I'm heading in. These are the things that are important to me in my life right now. And to help kind of tune out some of that noise that can become really overwhelming. So yeah, I'm here to help you with that if you're interested. And check out my email. And also, if you want to email me for other reasons too, just to chat. I really like making friends and talking about, this really fascinating and important topic of resilience, and also just understanding more and more this, how we can enjoy being alive more. We focus so much on doing all the right things, on being smart, on being safe, on being practical, on being, so focused, analytically focused on what is the right thing to do, what is the right thing to be, what is moral, what is ethical, what is all these really important questions. But it is equally as important to be like, what is play to me? What is enjoyment? What allows me to let my guard down and just remember that inherent bliss and how kind of cute feeling of being alive, being a human in our skin. that gratitude and, to enjoy being alive in a way that isn't necessarily always about words. It all also involves just doing things with the enjoyment of the experience itself. That can be really hard for me. It's something I'm learning how to enjoy and process things in a way that isn't like so focused on analysis and words and seeing how it fits into the long term, because it's important to be focused on goals, but sometimes to stay focused on goals and be consistent, you got to be focused on little, little small enjoyments of being alive. So, anyway, yeah, thank you so much for listening and talk soon. Bye. Let's see.